I'm rolling here, and I just thought we could just jump right in because honestly, this is a lot of raw, really new information that's coming out in the last few hours. So, I mean, um, what was your reaction when you got the news, and what do you think this says about the program right now?
For me, I wasn't overly shocked, right? I wasn't surprised when I seen Connell Maynor was out because you had heard the rumblings before. You had kind of got an idea that if he didn't perform this year, that was going to be the end of his tenure at Alabama A&M, and he didn't perform this year. So I can't claim to be overly shocked that it's the end of his tenure.
Yeah, that point I think is worth contextualizing the whole thing. These rumors have been swirling the last 2 years. We really couldn't have gone a week in this SWAC season in a press box, home or away, without this being brought up. Even just the passing comment, "Oh, you think this might be his last year?" And I don't know if that's necessarily a healthy environment for the program to have that question looming, even if it was merited, if it was earned. What say you from your perspective elsewhere in the league?
As far as just if it was going to be his last year coming in, or
Yeah, and just having those rumors hang around all year.
well, it can't be healthy, right? We've seen this in Prairie View, where Bo McDowell recently got let go. And I would say that his recent history is better than Connell Maynor's recent history. But the conversation of, are you going to be here next year? Once that exists, you're now in prove it mode. And it's way harder to prove it than it is to just stay consistent, right? Like if I come to you and I say, hey, I need you to show me you can do this. Okay, well now the pressure's on, as opposed to you already performing at that level, right? So I think that it's a different environment. It's a lot more pressure involved, and it's not easy. And it's not easy. And I don't think that Maynard handled it well. And I think they gave him a leash. I do think they gave him a lot of room, and I think he eventually ate that leash away, and it led to where we are today.
How much of this would you say is maybe the temperament or status of the athletic department under a new athletic director, Paul Bryant? How much of this weighs on the fact that this is Bryant's second season as AD and he's wanting to make the change? Or were there grounds for Maynard to have been let go regardless of who
I
the AD
definitely would
was?
say, I would say that I would say both, right? Because when a new athletic director comes in and somebody who doesn't have the benefit of the, or you don't have the benefit of the doubt from them, it's that prove it thing that we were talking about. But in my opinion, I did this recently for my show, right? When you look at the first 3.5 years, if you count that spring season where they won the SWAC title, and I'm sure Alabama A&M fans would want to count that because you won a SWAC title, right? You were second in the conference, first when you won the SWAC, and then you were third the year after that. That's the Akil Glass era. Once Glass left, everything changed. Now you see the rise of Alabama State, and then you go to fourth over the last 3 years. You haven't had a winning record in conference in the last 3 years. And now the only teams that you're above are Mississippi Valley State and Bethune-Cookman. That's not exactly the greatest of company. So if this was a new AD, if it was the same AD, maybe he gets to finish out his contract. But the pressure is there. The grounds, the merit is there. It's just about, if that's a guy who hired you, am I ready to pull the trigger? That's the only difference in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know if we'll ever know an answer with that because it's such a wide open hypothetical. But something I also was thinking of was how the timing for those increased expectations for Maynor is a little bit more challenging for him because it happened at the same time as Deion's stint at Jackson and the arrival of FAM into the league and their quick rise to the top. So how much do you think it was maybe an uphill battle for Connell to continue to prove it based on the other conditions, even external to A&M?
That's a good question. I will say it's a really good question. I think that if he were to stay around three, right? Like let's say that Alabama A&M and Alabama State switch spots. I think he's still here because Alabama State has their questions, of course, but they always seem like they just weren't good enough to compete with the top two. That's what it felt like. Alabama A&M, on the other hand, felt like they just weren't good enough. Let's say FAMU wasn't here. I still don't know if we would have seen Alabama A&M be a player. So yes, Jackson State for, I guess that was 2021 and 22, FAMU for 23, and then Jackson State again in 2024. They were head and shoulders better than the rest of the division, I would say. maybe a little bit less so this year. But Alabama A&M wasn't really in that conversation. I want you to at least be in that conversation. That's how I feel, right? Like you look at the best teams in the NFL, Miami, or excuse me, not Miami, but the Bills, way above their division. Miami, New York, and who's the other team in the AFC East that I always forget? The Jets, the
Pats,
Dolphins,
Patriots.
the Patriots. Let's exclude the Patriots' first year head coach. Jets have fired their head coach. There's questions to me about Mike McDaniels. When you don't perform and you're not in the conversation, it doesn't matter how good the top of the league is or the top of the division is. You're just not good enough to be in that conversation, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it there. There was kind of a pivot point here in who maybe could take the next step or who could ascend to the number 2 spot between the Magic City rivals themselves, A&M and Bama State, and winning your first 4 Magic City Classics and then losing 3 in a row did not sit well with many people in the A&M universe. Was it fair to weigh the Magic City Classic so heavily compared to overall standing in the SWAC? I mean, he's only had 1 losing record in the league his whole tenure.
I would say yes, it's fair because the other aspects of the season also fell in line. He only had 1 losing season, but he also hasn't had a winning season, right? So you got a pair of 500 games, 500 seasons in 22 and 2024. So you're 4-4, and then you go 3-5, and then you go 4-4 again. See, now if I'm having winning records and I can't seem to get over that hump versus I'm kind of average, middle of the pack, and I keep losing to my rivals, 2 completely different scenarios. I would say that Maynor's in the latter. So yeah, I think it's fair to weigh that rivalry game because that rivalry game does weigh more. When you win, it means more than the week before or the week after. So I would say that it's a fair thing to do to hold that so heavily.
Yeah, sure. And now that this job is open, I think I saw there's 7 or 8 HBCU jobs open right now, head coaching jobs. Whether it's in the HBCU designation of schools across classifications or the rest of the FCS, where does this job rank now among these available ones or ones that might open? How much of a good job is this?
I'll say in the SWAC because in the SWAC, PV is without a job, without a coach. I would say that's a better job because there's not really Southern. I don't know. The powers seem to be more in the East. And you have TSU to compete with. That's my alma mater. I love them to death. But I would say competing against Texas Southern is probably, or recruiting against Texas Southern is probably easier than recruiting against Alabama State at the moment. So I would say in the SWAC, it's second. I would say behind PV. I'm trying to think I don't think there's any openings in the MEAC, if I'm not mistaken. I could be forgetting right now, but in general, I would say it's second in the SWAC.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It feels like a program with a really high ceiling, and just has a lot of pieces that when they fall into place, they could really do something special.
And let me say this: one thing that works in Alabama A&M's favor is I love what Bryant's doing. Right, like I think he is a very forward-thinking individual. So I do love what it is that he has going on and leading the program. So if we're talking about selling Alabama A&M, because here's the thing, you can have 2 things that are close. I think PV and Alabama A&M are close, but it's about who sells it the best. And I think Alabama A&M could have a really good sales pitch to move themselves up. So I will say that it is a high ceiling. I do think it's a job that you would want to walk into. I do think they've shown loyalty to Maynor, which that is important. Maybe PV, you're looking at, man, you had 1 bad year with McDowell and he's gone. Versus Maynor, he had a little bit of a leash. So these things do come into play when talking about, do I want to go there? Because if I trust that I'm going to have room to grow, time to grow, I want to go to that place as opposed to somewhere that's going to rush me.
Yeah. I mean, he was the longest tenured active coach in the league. That's got to say something.
It's got to.
Yeah. You think about that point. Bryant has hired, will hire a new football coach. He's hired women's basketball coach, baseball, softball. And I don't know if he was the guy who hired Otis Hughley Jr. as men's basketball, because I know this is his 3rd season. He might have come right before Bryant did. But still, you could have two of your three most high profile jobs and anywhere between 4 and 5 jobs completely turned over in just year 2.5 of his tenure. There's a lot of uncertainty, maybe good questions still with A&M, but there's a lot of uncertainty there. Is that how that reverberates across the rest of the league, do you think?
You would hope not, right? Like I would hope there's some stability around because the more you change, Alabama A&M's women's basketball is a completely different scenario. That was, I don't know if she leaves or she gets fired. I think she chose to leave, and that whole situation appears a bit messy. But then you come and you get Dawn. Okay, that's a great pickup. That's a great pickup. But in general, the less tenured coaches you have in a conference typically resembles that either A, the high end teams are so good that their coaches are getting taken, a la Willie Simmons in football, or they're just bad and they keep interchanging. Most times it's the latter. I wouldn't want that. So I hope that it doesn't reverberate across the SWAC. I hope that you continue to get tenured coaches in the conference because it's better. It's better for each program because otherwise you just keep restarting the clock. Year one's bad, year two bad, year three bad. Okay, we got to go to somebody else. Now year one's bad, year two bad. Maybe year three gets better. It's a process you don't want to continuously go through.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, Darrion, I think that touches on everything. Is there anything we missed that you thought would be helpful?
No, I'll say this: Maynor is going to land on his feet, in my opinion. It's whether it's Division II, maybe go get a head coaching job there, be an offensive coordinator somewhere else, maybe. I do think that Maynor lands on his feet. That's one thing I will say because despite these last 3 years, he had success early in his tenure, and he had success in the 2 head coaching spots he had before that. So you've seen a track record of success with Maynor. It's easy to kick him while he's down and talk about the things that he did wrong, which we should because there's a reason he got let go. It would be irresponsible not to talk about it. However, at the same time, I think he's done enough good. I expect him to land on his feet if he wants to. And it's early. It's early. It's beginning of December. So there'll be a lot of jobs that will either come open or that are still trying to interview. So he has time to get in on that.
Yeah, signing period opens Wednesday, I think. So
Yeah.
the kids are gonna want to shore up their commitments, and schools want to make sure they get rosters in place, even if they are just starting a coaching search now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Darrion, thanks again so much. This was great getting to see you. I see you all the time on one of our monitors up here. When we roll these locked on stuff, it's nice to talk to you for the first time, even
Definitely.
virtually in person.
Definitely. I look forward to doing it again. Thank you for reaching out, talking to me. I'm glad we were able to do this.